run, 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 run.
One of the most powerful things when someone thinks of winning or victory is the trophy. In that moment where I got to lift it in front of thousands of people, I'd never felt so happy.
한국에서도 트로피를 한번 들어봤으니까 여기 트로피는 또 어떤지 한번 들어보고 싶네요.
I don't wanna be unfair, but the fair we got beat that weak shit you got. Good spot without new box. Good squad without nuance. I don't wanna sound unkind, but the sounds I make are the sounds of the hounds that are howling. Under your bed, I'm here growling. Same time under the blanket, you're growling. Shoes, 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 shoes.
You could just look back on 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years down the line and just be like, yeah, I did that.
The trophy is a real, tangible thing that you can't argue. At the end of the day, they're the champions, they're the best. You can't say anything about that.
Run the jewels, 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 jewels.
Hello and welcome to Semifinal Sunday here in the North American LCS. We have our final best of 5 before we head across the country to Boston, which will play host to our finals in North America. Here you have Dignitas making their way into the arena just a short time ago. TSM as well in their ready room, getting ready for a big best of 5 series, trying to keep up their streak of finals appearances here in North America. TSM does not want to disappoint, of course. Dignitas looking to upset that. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson here alongside Mark Zimmerman and Aiden Zyrene Moon. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Doing very good.
Woo! Synchronized, too. I like that.
Yeah, we've been practicing our synergy. Want to do good on the desk today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, well, let's pull up the bracket, take a look at how the teams got here. Of course, just yesterday, we had Immortals taking down CLG in a 3-0 series. That means TSM, Team Dignitas, play today. The winner will be moving on to face Immortals in the finals. But the big news there, Zyrene, is what?
We have a new team representing North America at Worlds, no matter what happens. So if TSM win today, Immortals qualifies. If Dignitas win today, the winner of the finals would end up qualifying for Worlds. So no matter what, we have at least one new team.
And a new contender just for the North American title in Immortals themselves. We'll see if Dignitas can unseat the kind of perennial kings of NA in TSM today. Talking about that series, though, between Immortals and CLG yesterday, let's hit that real fast. 3-0, they did it in dominant fashion.
Yeah, and you can see CLG was struggling in their matchup versus Envy. Those struggles continued versus Immortals today, or yesterday. They got absolutely obliterated. Game 1 was a little close, but it was Immortals seemingly having a couple jitters, playing their first playoff series together, and then once they got past that, they destroyed them in Game 2 and 3.
Yeah, we really did see CLG having to make the late roster change of Omar God coming in. Be a bit of a liability there again. The team kind of has to go back to the drawing board. They will have time to kind of work on it for the regional qualifier that's coming up, so there still is a chance for them to get to Worlds, but they will be in the 3rd, 4th place match in Boston.
Yeah, the big thing too is that Immortals had a great game plan overall for kind of destroying CLG, where they drafted really aggressively around top and mid, get winning matchups there to limit CLG's best players, and then in-game spend their resources attacking down the bot side there and forcing those 3v3s.
Yeah, it was really interesting because the bottom side of the map, Forced Counter Logic Gaming, was dying constantly. There was a point where I think the jungle and the bot lane combined was like 0-14 very early on in the game, and the solo laners of Huhi and Darshan did look quite good, but Po, Belter, and Flame were playing on point that day.
I mean, you talk about match prep. I've got to imagine that's in large part, credited to Ssong. We talk so much about Xmithie and him joining the team and not as much about Ssong and his position as a coach, but we actually did have the opportunity to talk to Ssong about his Coach of the Split award just a few moments ago. Take a look.
제가 오기 전에 LCS 스크린 경기도 봤고 오고 나서 스크림하면서 느꼈던 게 오자마자 스크림을 이제 처치하고 느꼈던 게 이 선수들이 개인 기량은 충분히 좋지만 자신들이 어떻게 게임을 해야 될지 전략적으로 어느 부분을 수정해야 되고 다가가야 되는지라는 것을 전혀 모른다고 느껴서 제가 그것에 대해서 게임 내에서 어떤 부분이 각자 선수마다 필요하고 어떤 부분을 전략적으로 해야 되는지를 가르치면서 사실 좀 저는 무조건 성적을 낼 수 있을 거라는 자신이 있었어요. 저 주에 왔을 때 자신 있었는데 이제 스미디 선수가 와서 저희가 성적이나 실력 향상에 있어서 좀 더 빠르게 됐던 것 같아요. 스미디 선수가 워낙 베테랑이어서 팀에 좋은 작용을 하게 돼서 제가 가르치기도 쉽고 다른 선수들이 흡수하는 속도도 빠르고 해서 저희 팀이 잘 된 것 같습니다. 너무 큰 상을 주셔서 정말 너무 감사드리고 기분도 너무 좋고 무엇보다도 첫 시즌인데 이제 너무나 많은 좋은 현상들이 저한테 다가와서 성적도 좋고 상도 이렇게 큰 상도 주셔서 그래서 너무 행복하고 이 상을 받고 멈추지 않고 제가 제일 하고 싶은 거는 월드 넘버원 시드로 가서 북미의 저력을 좀 보여주고 싶어요.
I mean, I had the opportunity to talk to Ole yesterday, actually, and he was singing Ssong's praises, saying he's one of the most efficient coaches he's ever met, that review time with him is no-nonsense time. He just gets the information out as quickly and efficiently as he can for his players.
Yeah, and I've watched a ton of teams, in-house scrims and stuff like that in review, and most coaches focus purely on macro play. They're typically talking about why did we make this decision, but when I got to talk to Smithy about the way that Ssong operates, a lot of it is actually micro-focused as well, so he's helping the players in terms of what they should be using, how they should be winning lane, and whatnot, so there's a lot of respect thrown Ssong's way by all of the players, and you can immediately tell a lot of these guys kind of changed the way that they play the game. I think a Flame is somebody who loves to dominate lane, then dominate the game, and now he's a big team player, so you see the respect, and now everybody's on the same page with Ssong, and that's why they're in the finals.
I mean, he'll be trying to lead them to their first North American finals and win in that finals. But of course, now it's time to turn our attention to the real match of the day. TSM versus Dignitas. I know the fans here in the arena want to get that going. That's right, that's right. Plenty of fans on both sides of the table in here today, actually. But Zyrene, as we position this match, let's talk about what this means, historically and for the NALCS, dependent on the results of the match.
Yeah, so far, there's already been 9 finals, and TSM have not missed a single one. So history would dictate that they would move on and that they would continue that, but there are some things working against them here, right? Like, this would be a three-peat, and no team has ever won 3 in a row. If you look back at the banners back there, it hasn't happened, and there's even more history that's not going their way.
Yeah, I mean, so on one hand, no team has ever won both spring and summer the same year. If you look back at the banners, it's always they win in summer and then win spring the previous year. So if that trend is going to continue, that means someone should upset TSM. Could be in the semifinals, could be in the finals. Who knows? It's a lot of different trends going on right now. But the one that's consistent, like Zyrene said, is 9th, finals appearance potentially.
Yeah, and then Dignitas has never made a finals themselves as well. So that's a whole bunch there. But what we've been seeing so far is history can be broken. Longzhu SKT. Longzhu, I believe in fairy tales now. And over in the EU, Fnatic ending up losing to Misfits in a 3-0. So pretty much anything is possible right now.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, even Dignitas beating C9, that was their first loss to a non-TSM, playoff team. So that was a huge upset in itself. So Dig's already breaking the mold a little bit.
I was going to say, well, Dignitas did beat TSM in both of their best of 3s this summer. We'll get into a little bit more of that in just a moment, but I want to talk about one matchup in particular for this series, the bot lanes. We talk constantly about Adrian and Altec and how they've looked in the past few weeks up against Doublelift and Biofrost here. What's your guys' take on this matchup?
Well, the bot lane in general is such a great area of the game right now just because supports have so many different play styles. They're all over the map making a ton of big plays. And then with the AD carries, they are one of the 2 main damage dealers in the game right now. Top lane is mostly tanks, jungle mostly tanks. You have your mid and your AD carries. So that part of the map probably has the most influence in how the game is completely going to turn out just due to their late game carry potential and the early game playmaking of supports.
Yeah, when I'm looking at these supports here, I feel like Adrian has the edge because of his diverse champion pool, his diverse styles. And also, I feel like he has a ton of experience, and he's been kind of the warding guy for every single split that he's been in the LCS, and he's going on, I believe, 6 right now. So he has had that for a very long time. But then you look at AD carries, and Doublelift has that clutch factor. Doublelift is the guy who has championships under his belt, who's won it on 2 different teams, and he's the only player to ever do that in the NALCS, is to win 2 different titles on 2 different teams. So he has that over Altec, but Altec has been looking very strong.
All right, well, it's time to lay it all out there. Predictions, Mark, you were incredibly
We're going to move on to today, James.
incorrect.
So looking at today's
I hate
matchup,
to
we're
point
going to
that
keep
out.
talking about today's matchup. So this one's actually super close, I think. It's one of those things where you talk about the history being a little bit on Dig side for just this split. History over the course of North American LCS is completely on TSM side. The one thing that I think it's really going to come down to is Baron control, just because TSM plays relatively slow. Dignitas is probably the best Baron team, and they're able to find, quote-unquote easy ones where they didn't have to kill somebody before they got it. They're exceptional at that, and if TSM doesn't fix some of their Baron control issues that they have versus Dignitas early in the season, I do think it goes Dig's way. Unfortunately, I do think TSM fixed those problems, so I'm going to go 3-1 TSM.
All right, the TSM vote out of Mark after all that. Zyrene, you can make things interesting for us?
So I completely agree that I would not be surprised if TSM end up winning this. But today, I think the God Killers are on point. I think the Dignitas they took down C9. I think they take down TSM. I think they make the finals, and I think they establish themselves as one of the new gods of the NALCS.
All right, so we've got a split vote here from the 2 of these analysts. I'm also going to let you guys know that later in the day, we'll have Kiwi Kid joining us on the analyst desk to help break down some of the games in this series. We also have his predictions, so we're going to fly that up, see who he's voting for in terms of TSM versus Dignitas. I don't even know what it is yet, so this is going to be a surprise for all of us.
If he goes against
You
his
don't?
guy.
Oh!
It's going to be the winners.
There's an unhappy crowd in here,
He
definitely.
can't betray where he's come from. He came from Dignitas.
That's true. That's true. I mean, no, look, I actually think Dignitas will win too, just to throw that out there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, tickets are still available to join us in Boston at the TD Garden, so make sure you grab those up. 3rd, 4th place match, as well as the NALCS Championship. As well, we want to hear from you at home on Twitter with that hashtag HowILCS. Tweet us at LOL Esports. Send us all of the funny pictures, dogs, cats. What else? What else do you want to see a photo of today?
Your faces.
Your faces. Send us photos of your faces. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we're going to toss it over the cashes to get this semifinal underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, my name is Julian Patriot Demko, and the real Fight Night pit Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler versus Joshua Jack Leesman after this cast.
Let's go.
I'm ready to go, yeah. Off camera.
Hope you guys are looking forward to that. But weapons are Smith and Steve's Enchanted for our series today as Team Dignitas take on TSM. And let's not mess around. Let's not mess about. Let's introduce who will be taking to the rift. Selecting blue side will be TSM for game 1. In the top lane, Hauntzer, jungle Svenskeren, mid lane Bjergsen, bot lane Doublelift, support Biofrost, and Coach Path.
And on the red side, it will be Team Dignitas. Ssumday up top, Shrimp in the jungle, Keane mid lane, Altec bottom, Adrian support, and Cop on stage coaching.
And I do think, again, predictions being back and forth, this is a very close semifinal, which you would not expect, given that it is the 1st seed playing the 5th seed. Do not forget that Dignitas already with 1 upset are the lowest playoff seed left here.
Yeah, and we have been talking about parity all year here in the North American LCS, and it didn't actually come to fruition in the spring. We saw very close quarterfinals and then double 3-0 in the semifinals. This year, we've already seen 1 higher seed 3-0 in the semifinals, so you wonder if the parity will actually ring true here in this TSM versus Dignitas.
Let's get right into Champion Select then and kick it off. TSM, they also got extra time off, just like Immortals did. And Immortals came right out of the gates firing all cylinders yesterday. So I do expect TSM, who typically as an organization, they kind of have this history of slowly adapting to patches. In playoffs, they get extra time, so they're always up to speed by the time they get here to semis.
Exactly, and they get to observe what Team Dignitas used last week against Cloud9 when they had to show all of their cards, because remember, they were the underdogs in that series as well and played 4 very close games in their 3-1 victory.
And a lot of the themes that Dignitas had in that series versus Cloud9 were Maokai tank topside for Ssumday. It didn't matter that he would lose often in CS. joining up with the team. It was all about team fighting for these guys and that Baron control. There was also a lot of Keane playing Syndra because Cassiopeia was banned out, just like she's banned out this game. No surprise there.
Yep, actually a good time to review that as we're almost done with phase 1 of bans. Twitch, Cassio, and Zac are TSM's 3, and Ash Rakan, who is kind of picking up popularity and maybe even some bans as the playoffs move on. And Dig with one final ban will actually ban the Maokai on red.
Yeah, and the highest presence champion on this patch is actually Kalista, which is unbanned rarely in these games. So I'm very curious that TSM didn't first pick that Kalista, leaving it up for potential Team Dignitas choice. Trist is up though and could be considered a trade pick.
Getting that Thresh for Biofrost is huge though. Playmaking for both of these supports, and Thresh is extremely versatile. That being said, let's see what Team Dignitas can get back on the other side. Gragas and Jarvan are both up. Those are usually traded because they are those very versatile bruisers. And bottom lane could still be a focus.
Yeah, this is so interesting that they had banned the Ashe and the Twitch while leaving Tristana and Kalista up, so I think we're going to see that AD carry trade in some way. Jarvan as a flex pick does speak more to that versatility for Team Dignitas, being able to put that in the jungle or the top lane.
Well, we'll have to see, because certainly Dig have been pretty consistent playing around Altec and on some of these late game carries. He loves to play those kind of champions, but today they will actually take Kalista, like you said, Jet, the highest presence champion currently.
Yeah.
I still am pretty shocked that it wasn't banned or first picked away with how much priority we've been seeing on that pick across the globe. Not to mention, when Team Dignitas did play TSM during their 2-0 in the regular season, Kalista was a really big part of that.
Doublelift has often talked about how when TSM are looking for the most consistent strategy though, they say put me on a late game carry and put Bjergsen on a late game AP carry for the mid lane. So that would be the Tristana, more late game is often picked into the Kalista, and then have Bjergsen on one of those high DPS mid laners from the mid lane. It looks like that's what they are going through here. The Thresh and Tristana does have a lot of versatility as well. That's one of the bottom lanes that can get a lot of early kills as well.
Exactly, and it's playmaking all across the board for TSM and Dignitas, actually. Something that Dignitas has had a lot of success with is drafting very heavy CC compositions, getting a pick, and forcing Baron very early on into the game. And that's not unique to TSM. It's what most of the good teams have been doing. We see both teams with initiation and playmaking in every role.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think of Adrian's Alistar when I think of that, but Blitz going to be very good here as well. And of course, kind of opposing the Gragas, which is the other big playmaker you're noting there on TSM. So a very interesting first 6 picks here in phase 1 of the draft, but now Dig will get their chance to ban yet another champion.
Yeah, 5 Blitz games for Adrian this year. Actually, if you don't count playoffs, he played more Blitz than he did Alistar in the regular season, so it's been very effective, synergizes very well with Kalista. And both these teams pretty much matching each other. We have the duo lanes and the junglers locked in, so the big solo lane heavy hitters here still yet to come.
And I am actually just so excited for this bottom lane matchup. We talked about a little bit, coming into this series, but Altec and Adrian have been such a big part of TSM, or of Team Dignitas, the new way that they're playing this game. And with Kalista and Blitzcrank, we have seen if Adrian gets any sort of room early on in the lane and gets to roam up, he can actually affect mid lane very heavily as well, and maybe he tries to go pester Bjergsen.
I'm curious to see what's happening in phase 2 though. Cho and LeBlanc banned from Dignitas, so taking away some solo lane is most likely, though Gragas and Cho can flex top and jungle. And then the Syndra ban away from Keane for Bjergsen, of course, one of his biggest champions, and might even throw another ban here to kind of joining with the Kassadin.
I was going to say Taliyah is probably the one that has not been banned out here and is still left up, would be the kind of go-to if you're just going down the tier list choice here for mid laners. But it seems as though TSM, we were expecting them to cook up something special coming out with so much extra practice time, and it may be revolving around that mid lane. We'll see if Keane actually goes for the more obvious choice, or if Team Dignitas actually want to save their counter pick, because they could save counter pick till the very end. There they go though, they're going to take the obvious one.
Take the safe one. Depending on where you're looking, Taliyah can be seen as a must ban, but it really depends on how you look at the game right now, as there's a lot of diversity in that mid lane. So Team Dignitas saves their flex pick right there, so they're not revealing where that is going, which means TSM has to blind their top laner as well as get the counter pick for mid right here.
Yeah, I'm super curious as far as the counter, because it seems like TSM maneuvered this entire draft in order to get this for Bjergsen, and they kind of funneled Keane into this pick. This is the intended counter, and it looks like they may even go with double possible split pushes here for the double teleport, 1-3-1 strategy.
Yeah, and TSM did play Kassadin twice during the regular season. It didn't look clean, but they did win both games. And when they combo with the Shen, they still have that team fight backup if they really want to. If they can stall to the late game, you can bring in Shen with a level 16 Kassadin and really destroy the backline of Taliyah and Kalista if they get to that point. The danger here for TSM is going to be their lack of wave clear.
And the thing about, Kassadin into Taliyah is, yes, Kassadin doesn't have to use a dash to dodge a lot of Taliyah's damage, and you can outplay the Taliyah in that 1 versus 1. The problem is, whenever you're giving over Taliyah, you are giving over that wave control advantage, plus the ability for Keane to affect the side lanes really early on. And Team Dignitas, their composition is oriented much earlier than TSM's is. So we'll see about this early game from Team Dignitas. If they can get it started off quickly, they've got Kalista to snowball objectives. They have Renekton pushing up on the side lane as well. So there's definitely a lot of early focus.
And I think so much of that early focus will actually be around whether or not Keane can push in Bjergsen. Because when we look at these matchups, we talk about how the bottom lanes are super exciting, how TSM can maybe get their advantage out of the mid lane because the Bjergsen versus Keane matchup seems like it should be lopsided for TSM. When you pick a pushing mid like Taliyah into Kassadin, and if that lane pushes, they get at least 2, maybe 3 pushing lanes, that's when Team Dignitas could maybe take over the map.
For me, at a very high level, we have seen TSM succeed with split push comps, but they do not look amazing. This is a real test versus a team that loves to fight you, especially around that big Baron that Dignitas have had so much success with. Certainly have to see how the comps line up though, because game 1 is going to be a doozy. Expecting this series to be, I'm going to say dramatic. And it's very difficult to say exactly who will win and what the game score will be, but I think no matter what happens, this is much closer than people may look at 1 versus 5 and say, hey, this is actually going to be an incredible semi.
Yeah, and the point that Kobe talked about for TSM when they're going with their reliable plays, it's Bjergsen on a big-time late-game control mage. Even though Kassadin does have late game, it's not a control mage. This is not your safe, reliable TSM composition whatsoever.
Definitely going to be more than dangerous in the early game. Let's see what they can do. Shrimp has actually had some very versatile jungle openings. He switches up his path a lot. Jarvan is one of those champions I always like to caution about. Can start off with straight red buff level 2 ganks. He actually doesn't need to get to that level 3 that a lot of junglers do to have a super high impact gank. And just that kind of early threat sometimes is enough for people to go for early invades. Also, on top of that, we have Blitzcrank and, the rest of the level 1 powerhouses on this side as well.
Yeah, Shrimp himself has also had a lot of success against TSM. The first series that he subbed in for this split was the first series Dignitas had against TSM, and he was victorious. And even thinking about MSI or TSM in general, they have not found the most success against the most unpredictable junglers. TSM likes to have as much control over the game as possible so they can outplay you with superior lanes. And whenever you have that wild card of a jungle, it can cause some problems.
I think the big carries we are going to be looking to for both teams here. Doublelift and Bjergsen will need to weather some of the early game storm and survive to that mid to late game point, but Dig have been very good at taking a lead and then accelerating the game. And even though I put a lot of faith in their late game, especially with how they like to play in draft, I think this is a team that can show us different speeds and will honestly need to if they're going to topple TSM here as Shrimp taking that blue buff away. Looks like blue starts for both jungles, so nothing too crazy at level 1.
Yeah, the bottom lane for Team Dignitas actually spending some time pulling there. That allows Doublelift and Biofrost to get the early push on this wave in the bottom side and try and get that threat of level 2 started.
See exactly how the 2v2 goes in. Both of these dual lanes love to play aggressive. It's kind of funny. Adrian, a very aggressive support, and Altec, you think of more of your farming late game carry. I think Doublelift's the aggressor usually in this lane, but Biofrost has stepped up to the plate there as well.
Definitely could be the case. Anytime you have your bottom lane pulling for your jungle though, and it's not just solo queue, you have to worry about what he's trying to get done on the other side of the map. This is a Renekton lane up top side. Ssumday definitely has a long history with this champion. And Shrimp actually is doing a 4-camp clear, which is abnormal, especially for Jarvan. Not even going for the Scuttle Crab that early on.
And it's pretty abnormal for Shrimp as well, because he did a level 3 rush, but didn't use it to gank lanes. And we're getting a preview of what we might see a lot more of this game is Doublelift being able to rocket jump out of Blitzcrank hooks. The timing on that is extremely precise. You have to start the cast time of the rocket jump as the hook hits you. If you're too early, the hook will pull you out of the jump. And obviously, if you're too late, you just get hooked. So he's got a very small window to do that, but Doublelift is one of the most reliable of pulling off that move.
It definitely is a lot easier just to go earlier on it as well. Oh, Bjergsen does get tagged by one seismic shove, so a little bit of harassment coming in, and Keane is getting that early shove. Shrimp, though, will be seen.
He's got a level lead here, but Sven, yep, just going to spot him. And then ward over the other side. Shrimp going to dunk a ward back in, and looks like he'll just run away. Hauntzer maybe attempted a die, but Shen looking safe so far.
Yeah, Shrimp is 5 camps to Svenskeren's 4. That's something that the pull definitely helped for, and being able to take the Gromp definitely will slow down Svenskeren.
Well, nice little trade onto Altec. Adrian lining up the hook, does land it, but Doublelift doesn't take tower aggro. Altec, though, still taking damage as the Ren is not going to pop out of range now, and Altec, not quite enough damage on the other end.
Yeah, Doublelift quick on that jump, does get out of Ren range. Able to dodge a lot of the damage in those trades. And this is one of the reasons that Tristana, we always talk about being one of the favorite picks into Kalista, because of the fact that Kalista's trades are so much more beneficial when they're longer, and then you get to finally end it with that Ren, where Tristana can go a lot more upfront damage, doesn't have to fully explode the explosive charge on the head to get a decent amount out of his trade.
Well, it looks like Bjerg's actually been forced back here. Shrimp camping left side of mid, maybe hoping he makes a mistake, but there's 2 Dark Seals in Bjergsen's inventory.
Yep, going for the early value here on those rings. We'll see if he actually gets to stack any of them up, because Shrimp right now, camping on this control ward, wants to gank him before level 6. This is sort of the classic thing whenever you see Kassadins. Yes, you can always shove them in, and you talk about wave control, but ganking them pre-6, so effective before he has his own escape.
And the wave was in a really bad spot right there for Bjergsen. He moved up because he wanted to be able to last hit the cannon with the Q, and that's all that Shrimp was waiting for.
Yep. Nice play there from Keane as the trades move back and forth. Shove not going to connect, but Shrimp staying around just in case. Sven also here, but Keane's just doing it solo right now.
Yeah, and you can see the double Dark Seal with the Corrupting Potion. Bjergsen, I think, is doing that. He doesn't have the health for the all-in, but he does get more sustained. The non-unique part of the Dark Seal is the ability power as well as the enhanced healing from Potion. So that Corrupting Potion heals him for a ton.
We are seeing another hook here on the bottom side as well, but it's a little friendly trade. Now, the other thing is that Bjergsen is consistently dodging forward here is what we're seeing on the seismic shoves. Right now, Svenskeren could threaten the flash body slam, but doesn't even choose to use the body slam. Now, one thing I would definitely say, it's almost always worth it unless you don't have vision to just throw out your body slam, because oftentimes you can get that panic flash from the enemy mid laner who has to respect your flash extension of your range. But because they have a control ward there for Team Dignitas, there's no vision, and Sven doesn't want to take an early risk in this series.
And especially as Keane starts hitting level 6, you have to be more wary of that control ward coverage in the river for the Taliyah gank. One thing about the casting with teleport, though, as long as he's not losing his turret, is he can match as long as that cooldown stays up.
Keane there taking advantage of the tendency we did see from Bjergsen. Maybe he'll switch up his dodging pattern next.
Not checking the control ward reveals Svenskeren once again. This also is tracking for a Shrimp to most likely get level 6 off of this Raptor camp, and could think of going for a return gank on Bjergsen, but Bjergsen just teamed 6, so that's probably off the table.
Yep, should be safe now. And Sven going to finish off this camp. A little low on mana, but should be okay. Maybe even feigning towards top lane, but yeah, has to go back and regen, and looks like the lanes are just going to stabilize back once more.
Shrimp did walk over just to defend that control ward around mid lane, though. I believe he just threw down the flag there on Bjergsen to dissuade him from finishing it off. So for the time being, Team Dignitas still retain control on the top side of the map, and Shrimp then uses that to walk from control ward to control ward and go for this blue steal, denying Kassadin, trying to give Keane more uptime here with the blue buff so that he can really retain that positioning advantage in mid lane. Actually going to take this one for himself and save the second one for his own handoff.
Yeah.
Let's see if they dive.
I think they're looking to at least pressure him off the turret. They've done an early swap on that bottom lane. They were on a back timing, knowing that Doublelift is going to go back to base as well, and we're maybe even hoping for a fight at the blue buff.
Well, swap back actually from TSM will be matched here, and Bjergsen's held onto that teleport, which is what let Keane freeze that wave on him. So all those cooldowns very much being respected on both sides. It looks like the swap will just be neutral as Hauntzer double and Bio going to clear out the rest of that wave, and Bjergsen TP's back to mid, finally able to use it safely.
Yeah, if you remember back to early on in the summer split, we actually saw those early swaps being extremely effective, but very quickly we had teams adapt to even just sending one extra member up to defend makes it so much easier to defend that first turret push that a lot of the aggression kind of stalled out, and we saw what we saw here, which was just kind of a pure answer with both bottom lanes defending on the top side.
Yeah, quietly that was a pretty good play from both teams. It was just played properly, so we saw no conflict. That could have been a big move with the control ward coverage that Dig had, and then rotating up the Blitz and Kalista early. A lot of times that means a dead top laner and first turret of the game, but TSM was actually very good at reading it as well. With the one ward they had to at least see their blue was getting stolen away to be able to respond accordingly.
You can see Adrian and Altec just hanging out on that brush on top of their control ward, hoping TSM walk too far forward. Bjergsen keeping safe as well. His wave's in a good spot right now.
Yeah, his CS is a lot higher than Keane's, and some of that is from the teleport being used. So I'm wondering if Keane's going to be able to get any pressure. When the wave's shoved in like that and Bjerg is freezing, that's when the time to make a Taliyah play is.
Yeah, I mean, you can credit it for some, maybe like a wave, which is 6 minions, but he's almost 20, over 20 above him here. Bjergsen definitely focusing on the minions in that matchup. And yeah, he did have to blow his flash early with the gank, but he is absolutely crushing here. Keane must have been focusing very heavily on harassment rather than going for the last hits, because there's not a lot of extra threat that's been thrown towards that mid lane from TSM's side.
Yeah, and TSM is completely content with keeping this game in a holding pattern, because you look at role for role, Kassadin outscaling Taliyah, Tristana outscaling Kalista, and Shen even outscaling Renekton. The time is not now for TSM to try and make plays. It's all on Team Dignitas.
Yeah, and we did talk up a lot about how early game oriented Team Dignitas' composition is. That still holds true for another item and a half for them. So they haven't run out of time yet, but as you said, this is definitely the smooth opening that TSM were looking for. Let's see if the Kalista actually is able to get any sort of hold on these objectives, though, because with the swap up top, there's a lot less pressure on Dragons, and it really has rotated over to Rift Herald instead.
Yeah, we can kind of check on the other lanes just quickly. Nice trade earlier from Hauntzer, but Ssumday going to go back in. Nice taunt's going to land. Ssumday, though, going big with the ultimate. Creep wave still being tanked out by Hauntzer. Ssumday still trying to fight it out, but a good little shield might be enough for Hauntzer. Forced to flash. Ssumday grabs the summoner.
Goes aggressive here, and we'll see if that draws out the teleport as well. He does have multiple options here, since Stand United's very clearly available to try and get back and defend this turret. But if they really want to keep that option on top side open, where everybody is converging right now, and we actually even see Shrimp up there, then he would save it. All right, there it comes down. Now it would just be the one-for-one answer.
Hook attempted, finds Biofrost, splash, but he gets knocked up on the other end of it. Shrimp looking for the dunk, but Doublelift for the great buster shot. Disengages the top end of the play. Bjergsen knocked back in, but he's just going at Keane. And this is where the problem starts for Taliyah.
Yeah, and Bjergsen is winning these trades. One thing that we should point out with the Taliyah nerfs is it almost forced you to go Morellonomicon because of the mana constraints on the threaded volley. So previously, Keane would be able to stack magic resist. Now he can't, and because of that, Bjergsen's winning those trades.
And very clearly, in Champion Select, we began to get suspicious when TSM were banning out every single prime mid laner except Taliyah and left it up for Team Dignitas. It's very clearly their plan coming into it. And Bjergsen, especially with the double Dark Seals on Kassadin, it's definitely proving to be very successful this early on. And we get a little bit of glimpse into what TSM were practicing during their off time.
And again, even with all this scaling built into TSM's comp, Dig aren't ahead at all. The game's actually dead even in gold. Bjergsen's ahead in mid, bot and top are even as far as the CS goes there. And that's the game plan. If they're at this point at 12 minutes, that's great for TSM.
And it starts to get so much more scary for any control mates that is up against Kassadin. After, we say, oh yes, plus it is the ultimate available for Kassadin, so there's always that kill threat, but he doesn't have to worry, about the rocks on the ground. He very easily can dodge a lot of the skill sets that come from Taliyah, so that's why this specific one is even worse for the Taliyah than most others. TSM trying to defend their blue buff, though.
Steal attempt here from Dig, but will be thwarted there by TSM. Sven should be able to get that, but it's actually going to wait and donate it over to Bjergsen, so blue goes over to the intended recipient there. Dignitas will not steal the next one. Bjergsen's able to secure that, and again, things just kind of going more than fine here. Everyone's scaling up. No completed items just yet on either side, but just a farm fest feels pretty good given the drop that TSM have put together here.
Yeah, not even a Drake taken for Team Dignitas. And when you look at the compositions, the top lane Renekton has the shove advantage. The Taliyah, you would think would have some of that advantage, but Bjergsen is proving otherwise in this mid lane with Kassadin and Taliyah. And the shoving lanes just aren't there for Team Dignitas, so TSM is free to continue to just scale up in this game.
And Rod of Age is now finished for Bjergsen, so that scaling going to keep moving even further forward for them, as it does feel like Dignitas' bottom lane is starting to run out of pressure here. This is one of the reasons why Tristana is such a good pick, is that she's pretty good early, maybe a bit of a dip in the mid game, but in this sort of lane where you're just able to freely push and create pressure, that's all that Doublelift really wants here, and they've been doing a nice job 2v2 actually getting a CS lead as well.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when Altec gets his play of the Rune King, if that is indeed what he's rushing for first here on Kalista, and if then Team Dignitas start to force those issues. But as of right now, still just sitting on the stand united. TSM have their defenses in place. Ssumday, though, is working up a decent CS lead himself in the 1v1 with Renekton, as we would definitely expect, and Dignitas getting a little bit of tower pressure.
Yeah, and TSM actually swapping back once again, maybe trying to go at the Renekton. There are still power spikes yet to be hit. The Blade of the Rune King is one, the Black Cleaver is another for Team Dignitas, where they will still be okay. Like you say, they have time to try and make these plays and get this early game lead.
Well, Biofrost got spotted, but I don't think Doublelift has just yet, except now he will. He's going to go ahead and take down the minion wave. TSM on a race for this turret. It's 3v2, but Zig got a big head start. Make it 4v2
and they have
with
Trist.
joins in.
So this is going to be pretty close, actually.
Should be, but looks like it might be going over one way. Dig already there, I think. Altec able to grab it. Barely able to get that first turret goal, but Dig do grab the bonus.
Yeah, strong effort there, but Team Dignitas able to get that bonus. They'll definitely need that to boost up to those first item power spikes that you're talking about. Black Cleaver now coming in for Ssumday, but Dragon is the transition from TSM immediately afterwards. We'll see if Team Dignitas answer with the Rift Herald though, because I still really like Rift Herald this early in the game. Gives you a lot more pressure, especially around mid turret. And that to me is the most value that you get out of that objective. So it would definitely be important if they're able to secure this Rift Herald, especially with the team that they have and trying to crack open that extra territory.
Yeah, but they're not even going for it. The timing doesn't sync up. They recalled immediately after that. I will say that the ward that spotted Biofrost is the reason that Team Dignitas was able to secure the top lane turret. That's what gave them the confidence to redouble their efforts down on that side, but then they just didn't trust the Rift Herald start against a double TP team.
I still think that the Rift Herald is Team Dignitas' to take, because TSM have sent their bottom lane down bottom again. And with the Kalista, it does have that extra security for taking it. You can easily tank it up. Rift Herald doesn't put out much DPS at all, and they really would only need one extra person.
Yeah, I do wonder if they commit there, if TSM could take anything else. I'm surprised they sent Trist back down bottom with no turret to take. A lot of weird swaps going on right now. Keane actually runs up to the top side. Almost like he's escaping the Kassadin.
Yeah, it's weird because I kind of expected Bjergsen to lead, but I think he's afraid of Renekton with a Black Cleaver, so he can't win that matchup right now. But if he finds Keane in a side lane, that's a great lane for him to start split pushing. So Dignitas have priority of mid right now, at least, moving their dual lane there first.
Yeah, lane allocations are going to be very important in this series, as we see Kassadin now being switched up to the top side. But I think that would give them the opening to just collapse onto Rift Herald. They have pushed both top and mid lane. A little bit of time here, but just making sure all the wards are out.
Hauntzer TP'd again, by the way. He's actually in the bot lane, so this is kind of the expected lane allocation for TSM, but just a little late having to use the summoner to sort of rejigger everyone to the right places, and Dig, as a result, will take that tempo and start the Rift Herald.
This is what Kobe was talking about earlier. Even though the Trist did roam to the mid lane, does still have the setup for Dig to get the Rift Herald. What's interesting here is the mid lane turret has barely been touched, so even a full charge from the Rift Herald would not secure them that mid turret without some more help.
Definitely still could try and exploit if they leave Kassadin in the mid lane. So that's why TSM have rotated Tristana there, who does have the explosive shot for some wave clear. Even though Doublelift not to static shiv or anything yet, it's better than having the Kassadin in mid lane if the Rift Herald does come down. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Trist might be looking for a gank. Bjergsen pretty far forward here.
If he uses his Rift Walk to clear the minion wave one more time, Svenskeren does see the threat there.
Yeah, spots them, gets the Grump out of the deal. Dig force Strong actually looking for a play in top lane.
And I'm a little surprised they didn't get a little bit more aggressive onto Svenskeren there. They didn't have the deep vision, and maybe they thought the Trist and Thresh were going over. But the confidence I saw out of Team Dignitas in the quarterfinal against C9, they would have gone for that play. It actually feels like there is a level of hesitancy coming out of them this game. They haven't, I feel like, even used a flash in the first 18 minutes, and oftentimes you'd see them using something to try and make a play happen.
It's the reason First Blood is still on the table here, 18 minutes in. Teams playing very carefully in these first few minutes. Dig's starting to break it open a little more now. Ssumday should be able to pressure this down enough with Hauntzer moving away.
Plus, since Team Dignitas have the Rift Herald to activate, they can actually kind of jumpstart the tempo to this game. While Ssumday is pushing on bottom, and yes, TSM are going up to the top side, Dignitas had two options there. They could have made a strong push on mid and used the Rift Herald to then kind of make TSM play the game of chicken and have to pull up. But instead, they're going for the defense.
Dig want to fight. They actually may have caught Bio. Kalista going to pull a back right shot there from Keane, but Holiday United in his Adrian taking a little too much damage. He goes down, and Bjergsen going to go first by the Hauntzer with the taunt as the hook finds one. Huge pick on a Keane as Doublelift tries to leap out of the way of Ssumday. Bjergsen grabs the double, but Ssumday looking to play clean up on the other side. The red grabs Altec a double kill. It's a mess here at Shrimp. He's going to fall for Bjergsen's triple, but he has to run. Flashes over the wall. 3 dead on either side. What an amazing first team fight.
Oh, Ssumday is not done yet, and Bjergsen has a bunch of stacks on his ult.
Gonna tip
a few seconds.
There's a slow. The stun is gonna land. Ssumday should be able to clean it up. There's the first jump, but Ssumday still gonna chase. Auto needs it. Bjergsen gets away again, but Ssumday chases under the tower. Looks for the Q. Grabs the W. There's the shutdown.
We waited 19 minutes for it, but we finally saw it, and Team Dignitas' option to move top instead of heralding mid means they wanted this fight.
And it was a little bit rough for them to start it out as well, because Adrian gets focused very quickly, TSM do collapse, and after the second activation of the Kalista ultimate comes out, he flashes deeper into the team. Doublelift and Bjergsen are able to finish up that kill, but then once Ssumday arrives, it's the big Renekton. Altec is still alive, by the way, and he flashes into the middle of TSM for that big Ren. Him being able to chase down Bjergsen and landing that extra slow means Ssumday finally gets the chase.
Yeah, Altec pretty much untouched that entire fight, and it was only rough, I feel like, for Team Dignitas because Ssumday didn't have a ward closer to the fight. It took him a good 10 seconds to make it in there after Doublelift Buster shot at him away. And the kill distribution from this fight is actually quite ideal for TSM. Triple kill for the Kassadin, who's already accrued a CS lead in the early game, will make him massive. But with that being said, the double kill onto Altec's Kalista is pretty substantial as well.
Yep, certainly a lot of gold collected all of a sudden. Still, even as far as the overall lead goes, Dig up, but only by about 600 gold. But certainly Zhonya's plus a Shen now on top of Bjergsen's first rod of Aegis, so he will be on full-time split push duty for the next 10 minutes, probably.
Here comes that mid Rift Herald. Team Dignitas are trying to use it in conjunction with Taliyah. While that guarantees that this sucker is dead.
Yeah, really good job there. They see the Bjergsen and Hauntzer split pushing in the 1-3-1, even with the double TP up. They move, they don't fully commit, but they get the Taliyah wall down, so just a safe turret take.
So if we revisit our story of Team Dignitas and the early control that they would want to have, now they're hitting these 2-item power spikes. Kalista on the Blade of the Ruin King plus the Hurricane is where Altec really can shine in these team fights, because Doublelift doesn't have his Infinity Edge yet, right? So this is kind of the big discrepancy. That's why all the neutral objectives at this moment should be going to Team Dignitas, and he is able to secure this Ocean Drake by himself.
Simple solo there for Altec. Takes down the Ocean Drake, gives that over to Dignitas, and evens up the overall Drake count. Doublelift does have that static ship, but certainly building towards item number 2, and Kalista is already cost efficient with how she wants to build, so that gold Altec just got from that team fight certainly helping out then, and I feel like Dig, you can sense it in their play, starting to push the pace a lot more.
Yeah, and they know that Altec is the big guy right now, and they're fastly approaching the level 16 Kassadin spike that Bjergsen would be able to hit with Lichbane, which could invalidate Altec later on. So they need to get vision control around Baron. This is where Dignitas has excelled with risky Baron calls this year.
Definitely was on display in their previous matchup there versus Cloud9, where they had the big victory. Right now, TSM are doing just that, trying to get some vision to work with. The big thing about Kassadin here, Bjergsen has gone for a very quick Zhonya's, which is really oriented towards that team fighting, towards jumping in onto Altec, then Zhonyazing during the ultimate, and waiting for that timer to come back up. But he also benefits heavily from having those flanks warded, having that fog of war to get the easy line there into the backside where he can actually try and get some damage done before having to use the Zhonyas. You want to be able to kind of use it offensively to reset a two-part attack rather than defensively Zhonyazing super early on in the team fight.
And again, all the globals sort of coming together here for TSM. Bjergsen pushes out the very long wave in top lane, gets that towards the tier 2 fight again here for Bjerg. To Shrimp. Gets some damage down. Sven finds Adrian, but the Kalista ult going to keep him safe. Now back in offensively, found Bjergsen. Hooks it back around. That's enough CC Stand United. And the Zonies will get Hauntzer in safely, but Bjerg needs to live through the rest of the fight. Onto Altec, but he does go down. Keane having to take him off. A great wall wins Dignitas that fight, and now another kill forthcoming. Sven is going to flash into the Baron pit, but Dignitas aren't having any of it. Keane going to try and chase him down. I mean, they are going to start it. Sven zoned out completely. Keane going to keep chasing. I don't think he'll get it, but I don't think it matters.
That aggressive Baron call.
They got very low off of it, though. Team Dignitas, even with the Ocean Drake here, that was a little bit too big of a chunk to try and buy it off. Svenskeren still gaining health back in the jungle, walking around here, and Biofrost gets him a path out. But that was the quick reaction speed on display. I'm just talking about not wanting to use your Zhonyas super defensively early on, but because they go for this initiation here, the immediate reaction from Altec to turn the play around and actually attack Bjergsen gets his cooldowns out immediately.
Yeah, and this was just a beautiful play by Adrian to want to turn that one around. It almost looked like an overly defensive cooldown, but it was all a ruse to try and get the re-engage. But as we were watching that replay, TSM had begun the Baron right before a pause. So a very tense moment in the game right here. We'll have to figure out what that pause is.
Yep, oopsie for Adrian. Spilled some water on his mouse. So gonna need to fix that one. Pull the Hauntzer. Playing against TSM.
I mean, I've done that as well. I feel like the majority of people have spilled something on some of their peripherals.
Yeah, just wiping up the water on that mouse. Still, everyone headsets on for this moment.
Yep, shouldn't be a huge delay, but yep, you can see.
I've never heard cheers for napkins. Loudest cheers for napkins I've ever heard. Woo!
See?
Dig napkins, let's go.
Diligent and excellent work that our referees do. Credit to them for quickly addressing the issue on stage.
This is where they still need Crumbs on the team who would always play with the clock.
Exactly.
Be like, I got one right here for you. We don't even need someone to go get you a napkin.
That was definitely one of the weirdest things, that he actually still had that high accuracy with his mouse clicks, considering the cloth was over the entire time.
Hands got too sweaty. You know what's less accurate than cloth over the mouse, Kobe? Hand slipping straight off and not being able to use it. So I'll defend Crumbs here in his cloth. It didn't help that it was like pink, Minnie Mouse, something like that. It was like really special. It was a Crumbs classic. But we are back into the game.
Ones, but this is a huge moment in the game. And it's a great call with the Mountain Drake for TSM and the teleport from Bjergsen.
I spilled water on my Baron, hold on.
Yeah, we'll have to see what's actually happening here as they finish the Baron take.
We were just talking about quick reactions, though. TSM shot calling right there.
Yeah.
As soon as they see Dignitas get chased out, I feel like that control ward is immediate place, but there was no option for Team Dignitas to quickly recheck the Baron as they were leaving. And so TSM actually take advantage of this small opening still fairly early into the game. This is a very, very big bridge, and TSM just need that bridge from early game into the late game we keep hyping up for them.
Yeah, and this is just a quick pause. Bjergsen is having, this was initiated by Bjergsen, an issue with camera lock, so when they unlock the camera, he'll be able to hop right back into the game.
I've done that a bunch of times. Small tip is just click on the mini-map with your mouse. It moves the camera and magically unlocks it without having to click the button that doesn't work.
All right.
Yeah. I've learned that through trial and error. The hotkey, it gets bugged in the same way that the little button does by the mini-map. That's why I had to come up with that solution.
Pro tips.
I'll definitely keep that one in mind. But this was kind of my worry stylistically coming into this matchup for Dig, is that as excellent as they have been around Baron and how good they've been at being decisive, winning fights, and then transitioning aggressively through the mid game, TSM to me plays a very similar style. And they're just as decisive, arguably just as good, or if not better, at executing in team fights. And at least in this game, they've taken a much better late game draft that you think they can strong arm the rest of the game too. So as good as Dig have been at getting Baron, TSM are good at it also. So a big similarity in styles creates some big tense moments, and this time, TSM win the exchange.
Yeah, and let's actually back this one up because Team Dignitas did have that good reinitiation onto Bjergsen and then turn for Baron. But the fact that they turned for that little Baron threat that was too ambitious is what cost them this one, because that delays their recalls, it delays their reset of the fight, and it allowed Bjergsen to respawn, get in position, and move for this one.
Health conservation in the mid game is paramount. That's one of those things that leads to these big types of plays and leads to the swing in vision. Like when people get chunked out that heavily, just starting up Baron has a very big health cost if you don't have a massive tank. And this early in the game, you can't have a massive tank built up, even if your jungler is building full tank. You know, Shrimp cannot have enough armor to tank up a 23, 24 minute Baron there. And we saw that they were already damaged plus in vision of TSM. And just like you said, that's a very intelligent punish there from TSM on just, that small health lead and the extra vision that they have.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked so much about Team Dignitas' ability to play around Baron this year, but it does come at great cost. When they can make those sneaky Barons, if it doesn't necessarily work out, you do pay the penalty. And mostly just praise here towards TSM for being able to capitalize that and make a 24-minute of their own happen.
And guys, we didn't really check in when Doublelift got his Infinity Edge, but he does have it now looking at the items during the pause. So
with Baron.
The scary Kassadin late game, the scary Tristana scaling are starting to become a reality. And with Baron being that bridge for another couple of minutes for TSM, I feel like they are very comfortable now with the way that this game is heading.
Yeah, we've had the game be within 1,000 gold as we pop back in, and now with Baron, TSM should really break open a lead. If they can execute correctly, we'll see how Dignitas' defense against the Baron has been, considering how good they've been with it on offense.
But they can also still wait, which is the flexibility they bought themselves here, because they can let Bjergsen farm up to Lichbane and level 16, or they could let Doublelift complete his second Zeal item to really hit the power spikes they want to. So a lot of control they have here, and at the very least, they're going to be able to push up these waves.
Team Dignitas are definitely going to be looking. Oh,
Adrian finds the hook, but it's Hauntzer, and he grabs the lance. Should be able to get him out, but there's a lot covering it. Spirit's Refuge, and he's going to click it. Now the hook lands in, but the Fate's Call is going to pull Adrian out to safety. Re-engage, knocks up Hauntzer again.
Oh, Adrian did not want to get hooked after reactivating that Kalista ultimate. And TSM rotate up top. They've got another minion wave, and turret goes down.
Bjergsen had already started that off, so an easy take there for TSM as they take the first tier 2 turret of this game.
Yeah, and you can see the sense of urgency from Dignitas right there. They did not want to wait for TSM to just take 2 or 3 turrets during the duration of this Baron buff, so they went for a play, just didn't work out.
I actually thought that Adrian was going to go for another hook, but I didn't quite see the cooldown on his basic ability at that point, since he had just used it so frequently. But when they're separated like that, even pulling in the tank twice could have been an option. If they were able to get some sort of momentum there. Anytime you can kind of delay the team with Baron buff by pulling off one member, would definitely buy them a little bit of an opening.
Still a 14-second cooldown on Rocket Crab. He's only got 10% CDR on his Blitzcrank at this point in the game. So
probably still on
gets that one shot.
And Bjergsen almost level 16. The Lichbane also now finishes. Biofrost gonna get out from under that trap that Dig set. Adrian is trying to find those hooks. Blitzcrank can turn again quickly, but TSM just on a warpath right now. This tier 2 turret in bot lane's gonna melt.
Baron buff Trist as well as a tank line and a Thresh to pull him to safety. That is exactly the position you want to be in.
All right, Adrian's going again, but
Ssumday's on there though. Oh, Ssumday a little too far forward, gets up with the ultimate. Hauntzer gonna turn the hook left to Bio double. Able to take him down. Now it's a 5v4 under the turret. Hauntzer able to tank it up for a lot longer. Keane's wall is nice, but Hauntzer may have taken too much damage. Finally gets free as Sven dodges Adrian's next hook. And TSM, they grab a kill.
They grab a kill, they grab the extra turret. Svenskeren even counter jungles on his way out, escaping over to the Raptor pit and grabbing some more money. With Hauntzer going back to base, Stand United still available. TSM keep up the pressure.
They want to go for a big play. They can't come here.
It's Bjerg. They found the Stand United in. The Zombies needs to be missed. Finally used it late. They've got a hook in onto Shrimp. Damage should be enough as Bjerg gets his way out. Doublelift not CC'd up for Hauntzer, and Sven fighting the front line under the turret. Adrian finally does the Doublelift, but it's a counter kill onto Sven as double. He's going to be trapped in the base. Keane doesn't quite connect the rest of the damage on the Doublelift, and TSM somehow escaped.
You're not going to get much better of a start there. Hooking in Bjergsen, nearly killing him, having the Zhonyas come with the Shen, and then him basically being a non-factor in that fight. But they still kind of win it. They trade a 1-for-1, plus they can now peel back for the Mountain Drake.
And we have arrived. 28 minutes into the game, TSM feel like they have fully scaled here. Doublelift should be able to complete another item on back there. And Bjergsen surviving after that Zhonyas and getting out meant that it was actually a 1-for-2 trade in favor of TSM, even considering how deep they got inside the base. Here's the early kill there on the Ssumday that they got to start it all off.
Yeah, the Renekton gets cut through pretty fast at this stage in the game, trying to now build up some armor, but will not match the tankiness of the Shen. And can't get Svenskeren on the way out. That was the one. Then the next 1-for-1 comes in right here. Great hook by Adrian, and still a strong CC chain, knocking him up twice, but they can't quite get the last hit.
The Stand United shield from Hauntzer buys Bjergsen enough time to live through the CC combo and actually survive. Able to reactivate and get out. Everybody jumping over the wall in the end. And there you go. It's level 16 Kassadin, fully leveled up Rift Walk. Blitzcrank completed as well, so he's got the extra burst on impact. Now it gets very, very difficult for Team Dignitas to outplay.
Yeah, his Void Staff's not far away, and Doublelift has 3.5 items, finishing that last Whisper as well. The gold lead isn't huge for TSM. It's only about 3,000 gold up, but it should be more than enough with this comp to try and take the game.
We always tailor the stories to the games based on that champion select. Let's see what they can actually do with it. Hauntzer is back out, split pushing there with the Shen. Teleport and Stand United both available at this point, so TSM can just sit back, wait for him to slowly push up with the Sunfire Cape before actually pulling the trigger. Another minute and a half still left on Baron, so they don't have to rush anything.
Yeah, I think the Baron setup is going to be the next stage in this game, but as a level 16 Shen, not going to be soloed out by Ssumday, who's now transitioned to a tank build. And it is about getting the waves in the right position so they can make a play. That does leave some windows for Dignitas to get picks. Checking to get vision around Baron against Taliyah, Kalista, Blitzcrank can still be very dangerous, so Team Dignitas with some options left.
And the window did not need to be particularly large for TSM to take Baron #1. Now with 2 Mountain Drakes should be even easier to rush it down if Dignitas give them an opening.
That was like a little basement window there near the ground. Nobody even knows it exists. It was dark, and TSM just able to jump right in and grab that one. But let's see about #2, because Team Dignitas will be aware of this one. As you said, Jad, probably Team Dignitas biggest. Uh-oh, never mind.
Grab,
oh, man.
Grab onto Adrian, forces another defensive Kalista ult.
That's one of the biggest options that Team Dignitas would have had for an offensive play. Now, without the Kalista ultimate, they don't have the options of the, another one.
That was really nice, actually, but Sven pretty tanky on the front side. Hook on a shrimp. He's going in, but Doublelift already killed him. Spirit's Refuge taking so much damage for Hauntzer in the front line. TSM poised to take the rest of this fight. Double jumps once as Ssumday creeps into the front side to try and take down Biofrost, but he already bleeding low. Altec fighting Hauntzer, and Hauntzer is not gonna die. Gets out of range. A lantern saves his life.
Altec spent the whole fight hitting Hauntzer, and he still doesn't get the kill. Shrimp evaporates while trying to initiate. That is how far ahead TSM is.
Oh my goodness. Let's see if this is going to be the kicker to give them positioning around Baron. Still 30 seconds left on Ssumday. He does have teleport, but TSM do as well.
And they're trying to go fast. Shrimp not alive for the smite. Altec doing his damnedest to lifesteal back up, but that's 2 really squishy dudes who can't face check towards Baron.
Enough tanks as well. TSM melt the Invective, and Svenskeren secures it with a smite. Now the gold lead's starting to get a little scary. TSM 6,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, in the start of this fight, you can see why Dignitas would find it promising, but Biofrost, again, with a clutch mid-fight hook, almost forcing Shrimp to ult in. And that doesn't keep TSM at bay. Everyone who needs to can hop out of that thing if they want to do damage.
You can see as well, Doublelift continues to go hop to the backside to try and pressure Altec, so he gets off of Hauntzer, and Hauntzer even getting out there with the Dark Passage means that TSM are coming with everybody wearing purple.
Yeah, and this is another thing to kind of double back to the draft point for TSM. They deprioritized Kalista when compared to the rest of the league. And yes, Altec is having a good game on it, but Doublelift absolutely neutralizing the pick, so to speak. Every time Altec is going to get in kill range of a tank, Doublelift pushes him off of it, and Doublelift will do more damage in the 1v1.
Deprioritizing Kalista, as well as kind of offering up the Taliyah there as the obvious mid lane choice, and then jumping on it immediately. TSM draft Kassadin and Tristana. They play the early game calmly, and now they are where they wanted to end up. Ssumday, not exactly where he wanted to end up, but he still gets back to base.
And Ssumday is not equipped to fight Kassadin at this stage of the game. Merc Treads only, plus a bit of health, is kind of all that's keeping him alive versus that damage. And TSM will play it calmly for the next 2 minutes with this Baron buff and just try and get some slaps onto the turret. Bjergsen with one auto takes about 35% of that turret's health.
And a QE takes 35% of Ssumday's health as well. The main tank at this point for Dignitas with how fast Shrimp was dying.
This actually has a lot of repercussions for this entire series, actually, because TSM came in so well prepared in game number 1. There's a hook, though.
Ooh, big code to the Colossus Shield as Sven gets hooked in, but the fight still breaking up. Doublelift picks off Shrimp again as Adrian low. There's the reset as Bjergsen grabs the Blitzcrank. And Dignitas losing 2 already. Turret starting him out as mid-inhib will fall.
Yeah, this game is turned real hard. It is just 3 alive for Team Dignitas. The wall doesn't even cut off the minions. Here comes TSM.
I mean, there are so many dashes TSM can probably get over if they need it. Doublelift is going to go for it here as turret number 1 is going to fall. Taunt finds one as Altec the target. He melts as Biofrost gets credit for the kill. Everything going TSM's way. Keane is going to get shut down. No, not quite, but the Nexus is going to be the price to pay. Hauntzer falls on the other end of it, but Doublelift stands and delivers onto the structure. Ssumday, one last hurrah as he dives in, but TSM will claim game number 1.
And they were in no hurry, still ending the game under 35 minutes with the Nexus dive. That was a bold draft from TSM in game 1. A composition style they haven't excelled on so far this year. And as Kobe mentioned, that has some far-reaching implications for the rest of the series with how well prepared TSM look.
Bjergsen playing the Kassadin extremely well early on in the game as well. The double rings able to give him a lot of early power, bullying Keane even in that mid lane. Even though he was the one to receive the gank, his flash was blown pre-6. That's kind of the only stage where on the Kassadin side, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not level 6 yet, I don't have my flash, now I need to play defensively, but he still had the CS lead.
I mean, in a lot of ways, both junglers played surprisingly defensive for people that are otherwise very aggressive when they feel like they need to be. I think Sven's like, well, if he's going to farm, I'm going to farm. And he's probably fine doing that. But Shrimp may have needed to get a bit more aggressive.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing to kind of differentiate in this game, because when we look at the team compositions, Svenskeren wanted to play defense in this game. They wanted to have a really late first blood as long as it meant their turrets weren't being destroyed around the map. And Shrimp would be the one that then needs to make the aggressive play. The differentiation is, were there plays for him to make, or was TSM just playing that strong of a defense?
Well, certainly defended very well, but for more on the TSM win, let's check in with the analyst desk who are joined by Kiwi Kid.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. TSM coming out on top here in game 1 of our best of 5 series against Team Dignitas. Got to welcome Kiwi to the desk. It's been some time, my friend.
Hi,
How you been?
It's been a long time, yeah.
Does it feel good to be back in the studio?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I'm really happy to see you guys and work with you guys. I hope I can provide some insight, my Plat 1 insight.
There you go. Well, hey, that's better than me.
Yeah,
better than me too. Better than both of us right now in terms
Hell
of
yeah,
solo queue.
I'm so qualified. So.
There it is. All right, well, you had the prediction of Dignitas at the beginning of the day. Before we get into this game 1, I wanted to give you a moment to explain why it is that you think Dignitas might come away with the victory here today.
Yeah, I just thought without me being on the team, then Dignitas would be able to win. But yeah, I mean, it's still just game 1, so you know, it's not the end of the world, but that's the main thing. Now, Adrian, I feel like the meta is really good for him. He's been working very well with wards. And just Team Dig, I like how aggressive they've been lately. And I just think that's what kind of wins games. Just you saw that at Rift Rivals is a prime example, even though it's a bit far away.
Right.
Where EU was drafting very scaling comps, and then they were getting run over through vision and deep wards. And I thought that should have happened this game, but they seemed a little scared. So.
Yeah, let's dive into it then. With these team comps, I think at first glance, most people would look at Dignitas and say they're the team that should take the impetus. They're the team that should be playing aggressive through the early game.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't quite play well against TSM just because they have some of the most lane-dominant players in every position. And I know it is kind of a, damned if you do, damned if you don't a little bit. Yep. They pick scaling, and then you pick early game, and it's like, well, we have to smash them in lane, but it is very hard to do. And I think there are some interesting things going on in the jungle in terms of, you were pointing out the whole path that Sven took seemed really inefficient, but it did kind of mirror the Jarvan wall. So I think TSM, did enough to make it hard for Dig to force plays, but they had to find an opening.
And we talk about those laning stats. Let's just pull up Bjergsen's CSD numbers here at 15 minutes, plus 21 in the Kassadin versus Taliyah matchup. We did see, ban focus towards Keane in the mid lane. 3 bans thrown at him by TSM. So we got to give a little nod to Keane for the work that he's done stacking up against one of the best mid laners of all time here in North America.
Yeah. Oh, you go. Go ahead for it.
Yeah, that was good.
All my analysts got to sing today.
To be fair, they probably only banned 2 of the 3 at the second phase, aka they didn't want Keane. They wanted Keane as a counter pick, right? They didn't want to pick him as a safe. So I think it was kind of smart, and maybe they were kind of looking for a Kassadin. Like when you kind of look at the bans, you want to see, hey, maybe TSM did kind of just plan this Kassadin pick, and it would be a lot of good against Keane's comp. And you saw that Keane was actually pretty uncomfortable. I didn't like that he only went he didn't go any AP pen items as the only AP on his team. I thought that was a huge, pretty much misplay. You want to be dishing as much damage as you can as Taliyah, her high base damages, and failed to do so.
Yeah, I think especially when you saw in team fights, he did a good job of finding knockbacks on the multiple members. There's the top skirmish that went 3 for 3.
Yep.
There's a couple around the mid lane where, like you said, if he had a little bit more magic pen, maybe he can actually insta-give somebody or force them out of the fight at the very least. And at the end of the day, the game just stalled out for a really long time. You and I were making bets, when's first blood gonna come in, and it came in super late, and that favors TSM's comp anytime you have a Tristana versus a Kalista and a Shen versus a Renekton.
So what's the fix here in this game? Because hey, the comps were drafted as they were, right? And so if I put you in the shoes of Team Dignitas, Kiwi, how do you press it harder in that first 15 minutes on the side of Dig?
I want to see Shrimp doing less of his jungle and forcing more ganks. He could have, I believe he started bot side, but he could have, just backed and went bottom, forced a flash hook play onto Thresh. Dignitas should have, just like I said before, they shouldn't have been as scared going to the jungle. There was a time where they could have went to the jungle top side, but instead just backed out. They actually were doing kind of fine. There is a way to win with Dig's comp even without kills, and we saw that by Dig securing the Rift Hill at a pretty early time. That was good. And then you can keep, even without kills, as long as you can get Baron, Elder Dragon, keep the whole river yours, you can eventually win, just power through. But yeah, they went for that one play onto Baron, and it ended up messing them up.
I think that's a big thing, just because Dignitas is the team that usually finds free Barons versus other people. They have this early game comp that they didn't play super aggressively with. They could take a scaling comp, run this early game back in a sense where you're mostly focused on farming, going even, and then if they actually execute their Barons well, which is what we usually expect them to do, this game is on, shoes on the other foot. Dignitas are the ones with a Baron out of nowhere and a scaling comp.
I mean, to be fair, they found a good look at the Baron, didn't necessarily secure it. TSM strikes back. I know, Mark, you were talking about some Baron stats coming into the matchup. These are 2 of our best Baron teams.
Yeah, both of them are basically in the league, leading the league for first Baron as well as Baron control. So they're great at it, but they usually get them in different ways looking back at the regular season. Dignitas find opportunities to force them when you're not ready, or they zone control you very aggressively when you're trying to get in to contest a Baron 5v5. TSM is more the team that they win those mid-game team fights because they're all so well, and then they go to the Baron. So both of them have great stats, but it's about the clash of styles.
All right, let's look at game 2 here, Kiwi. Let's work our way towards a Dignitas victory here. They've decided to go over to blue side here, so pick bans will flop sides. What do you want to see out of Dignitas here in game 2 to even it up at 1-1?
I want to see them not get any. I hope they don't get shaken up at all. It's just one game, so they should still just look at what they've done and play more aggressive if needed. Since they are blue side, Keane probably won't get a counter pick mid, so I would like to see him get his first or his pick first or second rotation. I think that would be good, and just get him something comfortable. Well, he couldn't get cast. I predict another Cassadin will be a ban for TSM.
Right.
So maybe something more comfortable.
I don't see Keane getting Cassio for the entirety of the day. Mark, any thoughts here on what Dignitas can do?
No, I mean, I would just like to see them pick a little bit more of an even scaling team comp. Don't force yourself into the situation where if you don't destroy the early game in the first 20 minutes of the game, you're going to get outscaled. Give yourself the opportunity in that mid game to use your good Baron control.
It's a tendency of best of fives, especially in the postseason, to kind of extend into the mid and late game. So sometimes the aggressive team comps don't work out as planned. TSM, they came out ahead in game 1, but Team Dignitas has a chance to strike back in game 2. Their series continues when we return. Don't go anywhere.
This is where we're creeping up for the river. Which path? Which path? What path? What path? The path.
Bjergsen grabs the Nova. Ssumday looking to play clean up on the other side. The red grabs out like a double kill. It's a mess. Bjergsen gets away again, but Ssumday chases out of the tower. Looks for the cure. Grabs the W. There's the shutdown.
I'm a Kalista. I'm a Kalista. I'm a Blitz. It's the only one I can go on. Careful. We need to run. I have Lantern 5. Lantern 5. I'm cutting. Kalista. I'm just on Renekton. I'm on Kalista. I have Lantern. I can't jump.
Big card to the Colossus shield as Sven gets hooked in, but the fight still breaking up. Doublelift picks off Shrimp again as Adrian low. There's the reset as Bjergsen grabs the Blitzcrank.